Okay. Sorry. Ready? Go.
Okay, that's my visual aid. These are my speaking notes. And this is my audience. This is Sarah, that's my mom, my dad, Aunt Joni. Where's Uncle Matt? He's in there somewhere. Uncle Matt, and down at the bottom is Brian. They're my audience. No, sorry. Unfortunately, I have cried in math class a whole lot of times. It's a pretty common experience for me, and for a lot of people have cried in class or had similar reactions to situations, but some people experience that a lot more than others, basically just overreacting to a lot of situations. And there's a lot of things that can cause that, but for people like me who have ADHD, that's a lot of the times due to emotional dysregulation, which can be a common symptom in that disorder. So today I'm going to talk about what emotional dysregulation is and how it relates to ADHD, what causes it, and how some people deal with it. So first off, what is emotional dysregulation? It's pretty much what it sounds like. It's having disproportionate reactions to certain situations, essentially overreacting. If you think of it as a scale of numbers, in a normal, healthy emotional reaction, you're going to go from like in terms of how emotional you are over a situation, you're going to go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's how your emotions will build in that situation. But when you're experiencing emotional dysregulation, your scale goes 1, 2, 3, 10. And it doesn't take a lot to get you all the way up to that spike. And it's a huge jump, and it can be kind of out of line for what the situation calls for, which is frustrating to both the person who is reacting and to everyone around them, because it doesn't make sense necessarily to be reacting that strongly. Emotional dysregulation is not one of the criteria in the DSM to diagnose ADHD, but a lot of experts such as Dr. Russell Barkley and some other researchers argue that it should be one of the criteria and it should be recognized as a common symptom of that disorder. In a study that Dr. Barkley did, nearly every participant with ADHD mentioned struggling to control their emotions, and that was reported in people with ADHD to a much higher degree than in their neurotypical counterparts. Which is also something that I've experienced in my own life. Especially with anxiety, it doesn't take a lot to stress me out. I can very quickly get from something that's a minorly stressful situation to completely freaking out over it. And that's one of the reasons that anxiety has such a high comorbidity rate with ADHD. According to Ronald Kessler, up to 47% of adults with ADHD also have some type of anxiety disorder, and emotional dysregulation obviously relates to that, help contribute to that. So now that I've discussed what emotional dysregulation is, I'm going to go into what causes it. So emotions are regulated they're generated in the limbic system, which I have a picture of the components of that here. Primarily the amygdala is one of the big ones that produces emotions. And then from there, those emotions are assessed by the prefrontal cortex, which then decides how you're going to respond to that emotion. In people with ADHD, according to Dr. Barkley and another expert, Dr. Asherson, the connection between those 2 points in your brain is a lot weaker, which means that it doesn't have as much of a mental checkpoint before just going straight to reacting to that emotion. And finally, having discussed what it is and what causes it, I'm going to talk about some ways that different people can deal with it. A lot of experts are in agreement that meditation can be immensely helpful in regulating this symptom, as well as just simple breathing exercises. These can help because they create a pause between experiencing the emotion and reacting to it. Anything that can pull you back for a minute to stop you from making those snap reactions and snap choices. In a similar vein, something that some other people have brought up and that I personally have found helpful is just leaving situations when possible. If you're in a highly emotional situation and you know that you're reacting strongly, if it's a situation where it's appropriate to leave, that can also be helpful because you don't have to express that reaction right away. And also, as is the case with a lot of symptoms of ADHD, exercise can help. That can be a good outlet for those strong emotions and can help bring you back down to something more stable and normal in your reactions. So to conclude, emotional dysregulation is basically what it sounds like. It's a lower level of control over emotional responses. And it's especially common in people with ADHD, although it does show up in other disorders. I specifically was talking about attention deficit disorder. And this is caused by a weak connection between the limbic system, where emotions are generated, and the prefrontal cortex, where they're assessed and regulated in terms of how to respond to them. Meditation and removing yourself from stressful situations and exercise are all different methods that have been shown to be very helpful in dealing with this symptom. I know that I personally, as a person who has ADHD, I've been very grateful to have this information. It helps me in my life to just to understand why I react certain ways and to know how I can better deal with that. So thank you for letting me share that information with you. Do you guys have any questions? No. All right.